Oh boy, here we go again. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Smiley, and today I'm very excited. Well, I'm very excited to be talking with you guys. I'm not very excited to be talking about Game of Thrones again, because I wanted to do a longer, spoiler-filled video where I talk about all the problems I had with this season, because there are a fucking lot. Holy shit, they really fucked this one up. I know I said that in my previous video, but it needs to be said again. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to throw up a big spoiler warning, because, yeah, I said it. We're going to be talking about spoilers in this video, so if you have not seen Game of Thrones Season 8, I highly recommend that you stop watching this video, go check that out, and then come back, sit with us, discuss it, and yeah, here we go. First 3 episodes, I actually really liked. The preparation and the eventual battle with the Night King and his army, I thought was really well done. Though I would have liked to see the Night King push a little further into Westeros, I thought it was a little cheap that he only got to Winterfell. Like, he didn't even make it out of the fucking north. But I did really like seeing Arya kill him. That was a fantastic scene, and I'm so happy that it was her who got to put the knife in him. I think it would have been cool, though, like, if beforehand maybe we got, like, just an individual sword fight between the Night King and Jon Snow, and then Arya comes up from behind and fucking stabs him then. That would have been really cool, because Jon Snow and the Night King don't really interact at all. I mean, Jon chases him and he's going after him with his fucking sword out and everything, and the Night King turns around, and for some reason Jon stops when the Night King turns around to give the Night King enough time to raise all the dead people. That I thought was kind of stupid. I feel like he should have just rushed him and stopped him from raising those people. Maybe that would have been a better idea. But overall, I mean, even though I did want to see the Night King get a little further into Westeros, you know, I wanted there to be a little more stakes on the line, I did enjoy these first 3 episodes, and they had me really hyped up for the end of the series. Because I was honestly feeling like they were doing a pretty good job so far. Like, in my head, I was like, okay, so the Night King had to be wrapped up super quick so that they could get to Cersei and they could really flush out the battle at King's Landing. Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but first let's talk about Episode 4. Episode 4 is so fucking stupid and forced. It's really the only thing I can say about it. It's stupid and forced. I'm not going to touch on everything in the episode. There are 2 things that I want to talk about. First, Dany just fucking forgets that the Iron Fleet exists, despite the fact that last season, which is just a few weeks ago for the characters in the show, remember, there's not like a huge time gap between season 7 and 8. No, they pretty much take place one after the other. So Dany had Yara Greyjoy taken from her just weeks ago from Euron Greyjoy and his fleet, and she just fucking forgets they exist when she's on her way to Dragonstone. And she's just, ooh, la-di-da, me up here on my dragon, I'm so fly. And then fucking Rhaegal gets shot down out of the sky, because of course he does. That whole thing just felt fucking forced. And Missandei gets captured in this battle. Most of Daenerys' navy goes down, and it's a whole clusterfuck. I don't know how Missandei got captured. I don't know why the Greyjoys didn't have troops on the beach of Dragonstone. There are just a whole lot of things I have no idea what the fuck was going on in this episode. And then at the very end, Daenerys is there at the gates of King's Landing trying to get Missandei back, and for some reason Cersei, the fucking boss bitch that she is, doesn't just turn the scorpions on Daenerys and fucking let loose and just cut her down right then. I have no idea what the fuck was happening in this scene. I mean, Missandei dies, which also, yes, that was forced as fuck. Like, I felt like they were just shoving her death down my throat at that point. Like, here, get it down there. And it just felt like a plot device to move things to Dany and Grey Worm going mad. And that was really disappointing. Character deaths used to mean more in this show. Then in the next episode, we get the battle for King's Landing, which is a hell of a spectacle. I mean, it is a sight to behold. It is a beautifully shot episode with lots of wide angles and everything's in focus. You can really see the shit going down. The more you think about it, the dumber it gets. Like, Daenerys just fucking goes mad. A switch just flips in her fucking head, and she just decides to go mad and burn the entire city. Women, children, soldiers, everyone. And like, it would have been really cool to see this if there was like a season of build-up. You know, she loses Jorah, and then, you know, she's really hurt and affected by that, and then she loses Missandei, and that affects her more deeply too, and then all this stuff just eventually builds up so that she finally goes nuts. And oh yeah, Varys dies. I completely fucking forgot about that because it was just so terribly done. And he's one of my fucking favorite characters in the show, and I honestly just forgot that he died. But I think all this stuff in this season would have been really cool to see with proper amounts of massive build-up, but they just fucked it up completely. D&D just wanted to get the fuck out of there. D&D, if you don't know, by the way, it's the writers' names, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, D&D for short. They just wanted to get the fuck out of there and go make their fuck you Star Wars money and forget Game of Thrones ever existed. They completely neglected the community and the show that gave them this status that they have now. And that is so fucked up. It's a real stab in the back to everyone who's been watching this show since day one, back in 2011. It's a real fucking stab in the back to those people. And to HBO, I imagine, too. How do you think they fucking feel about this shit? They're trying to sell people on 3 more shows. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. I have, like, a prepared list of shit I'm going down, so let me try and stick to the script here. So when Dany starts fucking going nuts and blowing up everything in King's Landing, I guess Grey Worm decides that he's gonna be a war criminal too, and he fucking kills a surrendering Lannister soldier, which then leads all the Unsullied and Northmen into just a fucking massacre where they just kill all of these surrendering soldiers and civilians and shit. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? I just had no idea what the fuck they were doing. I had no idea why the Northmen were participating in this. Like, I guess it's the whole, ooh, mob mentality or whatever, but I just feel like there would have been a little more what the fuck's going around from the crowd, you know? Like, why the fuck did Grey Worm kill that guy? Is Grey Worm a fucking asshole? Yeah, Grey Worm's an asshole now, apparently. I want to talk about Jon Snow very quickly, because holy shit, did they fuck this up. So the whole series has been like, who are Jon's parents? And there's this big mystery around that, you know? It just develops into nothing. Like, it literally just develops into some bullshit conflict that doesn't even fucking matter. It's such an incredible amount of horse shit. Like, I feel like that entire storyline was just a waste of fucking time seeing how they ended it. The whole Jon Snow is Aegon Targaryen thing is total bullshit the way D&D worked with it. And Jon, my favorite fucking character, I've said this before, I'll say it again, he gets one fucking line this season, she's my queen, she's my queen, she's my queen, and he even fucking says it when he sticks a knife in her fucking heart. He says, you're my queen, and he fucking kills Dany. We'll get to that in a minute. There's so much I need to talk about here, like, holy fuck, there's a lot. So Jon sees Dany commit this genocide against the entirety of King's Landing, and he still needs to be talked into believing she's a bad guy by Tyrion? Like, what the fuck kind of a person would need to be told that she's a bad guy? We've seen Jon fucking recognize people as bad guys before. We know he has the cognitive ability to recognize evil when he sees it. How the fuck does he need to be talked into this shit? There's no way he is so blinded by love that he cannot see that Daenerys just committed genocide. And so I fucking hate that Tyrion had to talk him into believing she was nuts. That was insane to me. That was more insane than Daenerys. And so Jon walks up to the throne room, he says, you're my queen, and he fucking stabs her. Drogon goes nuts, he burns the throne, takes Dany, and fucks off somewhere, and that's it. And then we jump ahead, fuck knows how long, a few weeks at least, because now Jon's got a beard and Tyrion's all thick, and there's this council of people assembled at King's Landing to, I guess, choose a new ruler, and fucking Grey Worm is there. War criminal Grey Worm gets to decide what we do with Jon. Fuck you, you just murdered a shit ton of innocent people. He was fucking executing people in the streets after they were already prisoners. Why the fuck does he get a say in this? Why the fuck does, at the end of all this, he get to just sail off to the Isle of Narth and, oh yeah, I'm all good now? I don't get why the fuck he deserved his happy ending. That was some serious fucking horse shit. He is a war criminal. He should have been thrown down in those fucking dungeons. And, like, did Jon turn himself in? I don't know. We don't know because the show doesn't tell us. I have to assume that he did because there was no body for anyone to discover, so, like, what the fuck? Did he just walk down there and hand himself in to the first Unsullied he saw? Hey, I killed Daenerys. Take me in, boys. And the Dothraki. Why wouldn't the Dothraki protest that? Because if you don't remember, in Dothraki culture, when you kill their Khal, and Daenerys was their Khal, you become the new Khal, which is king. So why the fuck would the Dothraki allow the Unsullied to take their new king into prison? None of this makes any fucking sense. And what about Daario Naharis? Daario Naharis, if you don't remember, he's the leader of the Second Sons. Dany left him over in Meereen, but you can be certain that the second he hears about Dany dying, he's gonna fucking come back, isn't he? Are we just meant to assume that he never hears about Daenerys' death and the whole massacre on King's Landing? What the fuck? Where is the character resolution here? Oh yeah, I honestly forgot that Jaime and Cersei died too until I looked down at my notes and I saw that I had written that down because apparently I forgot when I was writing my fucking notes too. So yeah, Jaime and Cersei die in the fucking shittiest way possible for two of the greatest characters on the show. Cersei is a fucking badass boss bitch, and Jaime has the greatest character flip in history, where he's a complete fucking asshole at the beginning of the show, and then by the end of the show, he's one of your favorite characters. And they just die completely unceremoniously. It's complete fucking horseshit. And I know there were some people who had a problem with him going back to Cersei. I personally didn't have a problem with him going back to Cersei. I understand that she's his family, and if he truly is a good person, you know, he is gonna go back and save her. You know, he's gonna try at least. But I did not like the way he said goodbye to Brienne. That felt completely out of character for him. And I just felt like that was bullshit. I feel like they could have done that a lot better. They could have done a lot of things this season a lot better. And the Clegane Bowl happened this season. The long-awaited Clegane Bowl, and holy shit, it was probably my favorite part of this season. It was so fucking good. It was so well shot, so well choreographed, and that finale when the Hound just fucking tackles him out of the window, I love that. It was amazing. And I know a lot of people had theories about what the Mountain was gonna look like without his helmet, and that was a big thing people were talking about. People thought he was gonna have like parts of like Ned and Robb Stark's face and shit like that. That I felt was kind of stupid, personally at least, because, you know, corpse decay. How the fuck would they have gotten these body parts, and how the fuck would they still be in usable condition? And I really liked the Frankenstein-esque route they went with the Mountain. Like, it really felt like a twisted retelling of Frankenstein. It was really good. I actually really enjoyed that. So yeah, they pick a new king. It's Bran, whoop-de-fucking-do, which I didn't really have a problem with. I understood why they picked Bran, and I like him as a character. I think he could have done, like, a lot more this season, and they could have given us, like, more insight into his character this season to make this feel more deserved at the end. But I did overall like that he was king at the end of the series. I just think that they should have built it up a lot fucking better. Oh yeah, and then there's that fucking Song of Fire and Ice book that exists within the Game of Thrones universe. There's a book within the universe that's called A Song of Fire and Ice. That was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. I was honestly about to hit myself when I saw that. It was just total complete fucking bullshit. Jon, he goes off to the Night's Watch because I guess the war criminal, again, the war criminal, Grey Worm, had a say in where he goes off to, so he goes to the Night's Watch, and then he fucking, I guess, abandons the Night's Watch and goes to join the Wildlings? I don't really know. We're not given any kind of explanation here. And Sansa's the Queen of the North, which would have been really cool, but again, it didn't feel like it was deserved. The way they did it was just completely fucking horseshit. Arya's ending, I actually really enjoyed. I liked that she was going off to discover the new world. That felt, you know, very within character for her. She's the pioneer, the discoverer, the fucking warrior, you know? So I'm very happy that they didn't fuck up her ending, at least. Though there were a few things in this season where they really fucked it up, like when she's running through King's Landing in episode 5 with just layers of plot armor on. I don't think she should have been there in the first place. It would have made that episode a lot better had she just not been there without all that plot armor, because Jesus Christ, it felt really fucking forced just seeing her knock back down, back up, back down, back up, back down, back up, back down, and on and on and on and on until we all shoot ourselves in the fucking head. And one more thing I wanted to touch on was Tyrion's diminishing intelligence over the course of the series. Now, this is something that I personally liked, but I didn't like how they communicated it to the viewer, because, and I'm not sure if this is what they're going for, this is just what I took from it, but if you notice throughout the series, as he gets slightly more emotionally attached to things and starts putting a lot of blind faith in people and ideas, that he starts losing some of that intelligence that made him great. And I think they were going for a direct cause and effect there, you know? The more blind faith you put into something, the less intelligent you become over time. But I don't feel like they communicated that to the audience well at all. And yeah, I mean, overall, I'm just disappointed does not even sum it up right. I am way past disappointed. I'm way past angry. I don't think there's a word that exists that can describe my feelings towards Game of Thrones Season 8. They need to redo it, especially if HBO wants to sell people on 3 more fucking Game of Thrones prequels and shows and all kinds of shit that exists within the universe later on, you know? If they want that to happen, they need to leave Game of Thrones a better legacy than this bullshit right here. You know, if that means doing it without D&D because they're too busy jerking themselves off at a Star Wars film set, that's fine too. Do it without D&D. Fuck them. You know, not that I think they're bad writers. You know, a lot of people have been saying they're bad writers. I don't personally believe that. We have 7 seasons of excellent television that show us they absolutely know what they're doing, and when they put passion and time and effort into what they're working on, something truly great can come out of it. I just feel like they stopped caring for season 8 because they just wanted to move on to something else. So it's not that I think they're not talented, I think they lack passion. So yeah, I mean, that's it. I told you guys what I rated it on the last episode I did. You know, just in case you guys didn't see that, it was a 3 out of 10, a terrible 3 out of fucking 10. I'm not gonna throw it up here, don't really need to. You guys know what it looks like. And yeah, that's really all I got. It is hot as hell in here because I had to turn my air conditioning off to shoot this video. So that's about it for this. Leave a like on this video if you liked it. Leave a dislike if you didn't like it. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what you thought of Game of Thrones Season 8. If you liked it, that's fine. Let me know why down below. We'll talk about it. You know, it's okay to have enjoyed this season. I also said that in my last video. If you enjoyed this season of Game of Thrones, more power to you. I'm happy that you were able to enjoy this show all the way through. But a lot of us didn't, and a lot of us would like to see it done again. To a lot of people, myself included, this ending really broke my heart, that the series would kind of just give up like this, you know? So yeah, guys, until the next video, I thank you guys so very much for watching. Keep it kosher. Peace.